Welcome to my channel, and today I want to share a story that will remind you of the power of kindness and the incredible ways it can change lives. This is the story of a young boy who came from nothing. But with the help of a stranger's generosity, he went on to achieve his dreams of becoming a doctor. It's a journey of sacrifice, hope, and the belief that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever truly forgotten. Let us dive into this heartwarming tale of how one simple gesture can shape a future forever. A calendar changes its date every day, but sometimes one single date has the power to change the course of a life forever. This is the story of a boy named Joshua Williams, who came from a very humble family where life seemed to stretch the limits of endurance. When Joshua was just 6 years old, tragedy struck, the death of his mother. From that moment, it was his father, Malik Williams, who would raise him alone. Malik worked tirelessly in a steel factory, earning just enough to survive. But he was determined that his son would not suffer the same fate. Even in the most difficult times, Malik never stopped trying to give Joshua a future. He would eat less, cut back on expenses, and save every penny he could to pay for Joshua's school fees. Joshua was now 13. Despite his young age, he had already learned how to take care of the house. Every morning, he woke up at 4 and 12, cooked meals for both himself and his father, and then hurried to school. Malik would go to the factory, and the rhythm of their tough life continued without complaint. They had little, but what they had, they cherished. One evening, Malik came home after a long day at work, only to be greeted by an alarming sight. Smoke filled their small, dimly lit house. The wet wood Joshua was trying to cook with refused to catch fire, creating a suffocating cloud in the room. Joshua was coughing violently, his eyes red from the smoke. Malik rushed in and pulled him outside, his heart racing with worry. "You should have called me," Malik said, his voice laced with concern. "Look at you, you're coughing badly. Why did you start cooking? I could have done it today." Joshua smiled weakly and said, "No, Papa, you work all day. You get so tired. I don't want you to have to work and cook too. I come home early from school, so I'll cook from now on." Malik was deeply touched. A warmth spread through him as he smiled at his son's determination. "Well then," he said, "we won't eat at home tonight. I got my salary today. Let's go eat outside." It was a rare moment of joy in their otherwise tough life. For once, the two of them were able to enjoy a simple meal together outside their little house. It was a luxury they could seldom afford, but tonight was special. Joshua had always been a hard-working and brilliant boy. Even after doing all the housework, he managed to be at the top of his class. Malik often dreamed of seeing his son become a doctor. Joshua shared that dream and was determined to make it come true, no matter the obstacles. But life, as it often does, had a cruel way of intervening. One day while working in the factory, Malik's world was shattered. A heavy piece of iron fell on his hands, causing severe injury. The doctors had no choice but to amputate both of his hands. The accident left Malik broken, physically and emotionally. After months in the hospital, he returned home a shadow of his former self, struggling with despair. "I had so many dreams," Malik said one evening, his voice heavy with sorrow. "I lost your mother, and now my hands. I just wanted to see you become a doctor, Joshua. But now it feels like that dream will never come true." Joshua, sitting beside him, took his father's hand in his own and spoke softly, his voice full of resolve. "Don't worry, Papa. Your dream is still alive. I promise I will become a doctor, no matter how hard it gets." From that day forward, Joshua worked tirelessly to keep that promise. He studied early in the morning, went to school, and in the afternoons, he worked selling soap door to door for a small company. The little money he earned helped pay for his school fees and put food on the table. Saturdays and Sundays were spent selling soap all day. But despite his hard work, one week proved to be particularly brutal. Joshua had not sold a single bar of soap. He was tired, hungry, and disheartened. The last day to submit his college admission form was fast approaching, but with no money in hand, he had little hope. By evening, he had not made a single sale. As he trudged to one last house, he made a silent vow to himself. "If they don't buy the soap, at least I can ask for some food." A kind woman answered the door. Her eyes softened when she saw the exhaustion written on Joshua's face. "You look very hungry," she said, leading him inside. "Eat these biscuits and drink some water first." After Joshua ate, the woman asked, "Don't you go to school, young man?" "Yes, ma'am," Joshua replied quietly. "I passed high school, but today I didn't sell even one soap. I don't think I'll be able to pay my college admission fees now." The woman felt a pang of sympathy for him. "How much do you need?" she asked gently. 500 rupees, Joshua answered, his voice barely above a whisper. Without hesitation, the woman went inside and returned with the money. She handed it to him and said, "Here, take this. Go fill out your form." Joshua was stunned. He touched her feet, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you, ma'am. You don't know what this means to me." Tears welled in his eyes as he ran to submit his form. He couldn't believe that a stranger's kindness had made this moment possible. It was the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one he would never forget. Years passed, and with his relentless hard work and determination, Joshua became a renowned doctor in the city. He even opened his own nursing home. Malik's happiness was beyond measure. But fate, it seemed, had more surprises in store for Joshua. Joshua's life had transformed in ways he could have never imagined when he was the young boy selling soap to get by. As a respected doctor with his own clinic, he had fulfilled the dream his father had for him, one they both had fought so hard to achieve. But as successful as he had become, Joshua never forgot the kindness of the woman who had helped him when he was at his lowest. Malik Williams, now older and much happier, still lived with Joshua in the small house that had once been their entire world. The man had learned to live without his hands, adapting to the many challenges that came with it. Yet, even without his hands, Malik remained strong, his spirit never broken. He lived through the lessons of perseverance and sacrifice, and that strength resonated in the way he raised his son. One day, as Joshua worked at his nursing home, he received a call that would change everything. The phone rang in the middle of a routine consultation with a patient. His nurse, Sarah, entered with a worried look on her face. "Dr. Williams, there's an emergency. A woman has been admitted with late-stage tuberculosis. She's in critical condition and needs immediate care." Joshua's heart skipped a beat. Tuberculosis was a dangerous disease, and with one lung already completely damaged, the prognosis for recovery was grim. But Joshua had always believed that no life was too far gone for a chance at saving. He rushed to the emergency room, his mind focused on what needed to be done. The woman was elderly, frail, and alone. She had no family, no one to advocate for her, just a simple, weathered face that had seen too much hardship. Her condition was worse than he had imagined. The doctors had already begun treatment, but it was clear that the odds of survival were stacked against her. "Doctor, I don't think she can afford the treatment," one of his junior doctors, David, said, looking over the woman's chart. "Her bills will be too high. She's alone, and we don't know if she can even pay for the medications." Joshua looked at his colleague, his face serious. "Money doesn't matter. A life does," he said firmly. "Admit her immediately. We'll figure out the rest later." For the next 2 months, Joshua and his team worked tirelessly to treat the woman. Day and night, he oversaw her care. Despite her condition, Joshua never gave up on her. He saw something in her, a tenacity that mirrored his own struggles as a young boy. Perhaps it was her quiet acceptance of the pain she was enduring, or maybe it was the fact that she had no one to care for her but the doctors and nurses at the hospital. But Joshua knew this woman was worth saving. As the days passed, the woman's health gradually improved. The treatments worked, and little by little, the signs of recovery began to show. Joshua spent hours by her side, ensuring she received the best care. And then, finally, the day came when the woman was well enough to leave the hospital. She was no longer a frail shell of a person, but a woman who had been given a second chance at life. Joshua, proud of the team and the success of the treatment, walked into the room to check on her one last time before she was discharged. A nurse came in with an envelope in her hand. "Ma'am, this is your bill," the nurse said gently, handing it to the woman. The woman's face went pale as she opened the envelope, dreading the amount she would see. She had no way of paying for her medical expenses. She was sure the amount would be impossible to manage. But as she opened the envelope, she saw that it wasn't a bill at all. Instead, there was a note that read, "Don't worry. Your treatment was paid long ago with the 500 rupees you gave to a boy selling soap. That boy is now a doctor, and he is the one who saved your life. He can never repay your kindness. But this treatment is a small gift from him." The woman's hands trembled as she read the note. Her mind raced with disbelief. She could hardly process the words. Her mind turned back to that day, so many years ago, when she had given that boy money to help him with his college admission. It had been such a simple act of kindness, one that she had forgotten over time. She had no idea that the boy she had helped was now the very doctor who had saved her life. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at the note again, her heart full of emotion. She had been the recipient of a miracle, one she could never have expected. And in that moment, she understood the profound impact of kindness. Just then, the door opened, and Joshua entered the room. His smile was warm, and there was a glint of recognition in his eyes as he saw the woman reading the note. "Yes, Ma'am," Joshua said softly. "I am that boy, the one you helped all those years ago. That day you didn't just give me money, you gave me a future. You helped me become the doctor I am today, and today I get the chance to return that kindness. You gave me the hope I needed when I had none, and now it is my turn to give hope to you." The woman wept silently, not out of sadness, but because of the miracle of kindness she had once shown. In a world where so many people sought something in return for their actions, she had given without expecting anything. And in doing so, she had changed the course of a boy's life, and in return, he had saved hers. Joshua placed a gentle hand on the woman's shoulder, a silent promise that he would always carry the lessons of his past with him. The woman, now fully recovered, left the hospital with a newfound sense of peace in her heart. The weight of her past, which had once seemed so heavy, had been lifted by the kindness of a boy she had helped so many years ago. But what she didn't know was that her small act of generosity had sparked a chain of events that would continue to shape lives far beyond her own. Joshua Williams stood in his office, reflecting on the path that had brought him to this moment. He had grown up poor, struggling to help his father, Malik, and trying to keep his dreams alive despite the odds. The sacrifices his father had made to ensure his future, the woman who had helped him with the 500 rupees, and all the challenges he had faced to get to where he was. Joshua knew it was not just his hard work that had brought him success. It was the kindness of others, the belief in him when he had none left, that had changed his life forever. In the years that followed, Joshua's reputation as a doctor grew. His nursing home became one of the most trusted in the city. Patients sought his care not only because of his medical expertise, but because of the compassion that radiated from him. He understood what it meant to fight against the odds. He had lived through the pain of watching a father lose everything and a son struggling to keep hope alive. That's why Joshua went beyond the science of medicine. He treated his patients with empathy, as if each one were a part of his own story. His relationship with his father remained as strong as ever. Malik had always been Joshua's guiding star, his source of strength. Now, as a doctor, Joshua was able to provide for his father, giving him the comfort he had always wanted for him. They lived together in a home much larger than the tiny hut they once shared. But despite the luxury, it was the quiet moments they spent together that meant the most. Malik still couldn't use his hands, but Joshua made sure to take care of everything, always keeping his father's dignity intact. One afternoon, after a long day of consultations, Joshua sat with his father talking about the past. Malik, who had lived a simple life, always liked to recount stories of when they had nothing, when the days were long, and the nights even longer, yet they had always found a way to keep their spirits high. "Papa," Joshua said, his voice filled with gratitude, "I owe everything to you. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. I could never have made it this far without you." Malik looked at his son, his face soft with emotion. "No, Joshua, you've done it all. I only gave you the tools to fight. You're the one who built the life you have now." Joshua smiled, feeling a lump in his throat. You taught me that no matter how difficult things get, we never stop fighting, and that is the greatest gift you could have given me." As they sat together, the phone rang. Joshua answered quickly, sensing that it was a matter of urgency. It was Sarah, the nurse from his clinic. "Dr. Williams, we have a young girl who was brought in by her parents. She's been diagnosed with a rare condition, and the treatment is extremely expensive. We're not sure how to proceed," Sarah explained. Joshua's heart sank. He had heard of such cases before. Families who couldn't afford treatment for life-threatening conditions, and often they were left to make heartbreaking decisions. "Where are they now?" Joshua asked, his voice steady despite the storm of thoughts in his mind. "They're in the waiting room, doctor. They're asking for you." Joshua stood up immediately. He knew that in times like this, the last thing a family needed was to feel hopeless. They needed someone who believed that miracles could happen, even when everything seemed stacked against them. As he entered the waiting room, he saw the worried faces of a young couple sitting with their daughter. The little girl, Amina, was sitting in her mother's lap, her eyes tired but full of hope. Joshua approached them and smiled gently. "Hello, I'm Dr. Williams. Can you tell me a bit more about Amina's condition?" The mother, her voice trembling, began explaining how Amina had been diagnosed with a rare blood disorder, and the treatments were costly. The father spoke of their struggles, how they had already sold everything they could to pay for some of the bills, but now they were at a crossroads. Without the treatment, Amina wouldn't survive, but with the treatment, they would have no way to pay for it. "I don't know what to do anymore," the father said, his voice cracking with emotion. "We've tried everything. I can't bear to lose my daughter." Joshua listened intently, his mind racing. This was another moment of truth. He had faced such decisions before, but now he was the one with the power to help, to make a difference. He knew that the treatment could save Amina's life, but he also knew the financial burden it would place on the family. "Don't worry," Joshua said quietly, his voice full of confidence. "I will make sure Amina gets the treatment she needs. You don't have to worry about the money." The parents stared at him, disbelief written on their faces. "You don't understand," the mother said, shaking her head. "We have nothing left. We can't pay you." Joshua smiled and took her hand. "It's not about money," he said. "It's about giving someone a chance to live. Amina will get the best care we can offer, and you won't have to worry about the costs. I've seen the difference kindness can make, and I won't let you lose your daughter because of something as simple as money." Tears filled the mother's eyes. You would do that for us?" Joshua nodded. "I believe in paying it forward. When I was young, a stranger helped me. Now it's my turn to help." Over the next few weeks, Amina received the treatment she needed, and her condition began to improve. Joshua visited her every day, just as he had done for the elderly woman. The family could hardly believe the transformation, both in Amina's health and in their own lives. The kindness that Joshua had shown them not only saved their daughter's life, it had restored their faith in humanity. Joshua Williams had always known that the road to becoming a doctor was not just about medical knowledge or technical expertise. It was about understanding people, feeling their pain, and knowing when to offer not just treatment, but a little piece of hope. It was the essence of what had been instilled in him since his early years. The lessons his father, Malik, had taught him and the kindness he had received from strangers shaped his philosophy of care. To Joshua, every patient was more than just a medical case. They were individuals with stories, dreams, and struggles. And each one deserved the same chance at life that he had fought for all those years ago. The success stories of Amina and so many other patients fueled Joshua's sense of purpose. But even as he continued to thrive in his career, there was still one chapter of his life that remained unfinished. The woman who had helped him years ago, the one who had given him the 500 rupees without a second thought. She had been the turning point in his life, and yet Joshua had never seen her again after that fateful day. He had returned the favor in his own way, but something in his heart told him he needed to find her. He wanted to thank her in person, to tell her how much her simple act of kindness had changed his life, and how he was paying it forward. One rainy afternoon, as Joshua sat in his office, His nurse, Sarah, came in with a piece of news that made his heart race. "Dr. Williams, I just found something you might be interested in," Sarah said, handing him a small envelope. "It's a letter addressed to you from the woman you helped all those years ago." Joshua's hands shook slightly as he opened the envelope. The letter was simple, written in neat handwriting, and it read, "Dear Dr. Williams, you may not remember me, but I will never forget you. I am the woman who gave you the 500 rupees all those years ago when you were selling soap. You were just a boy with a dream, and I wanted to help you. At the time, I never imagined that my small gesture would lead to such a miraculous turn of events. I heard about your success and the wonderful work you do. It fills my heart with joy to know that you not only became the doctor you always dreamed of being, but you also gave back to others in ways that words cannot express. I am so proud of you. May your kindness continue to inspire the world. With all my gratitude, Miriam Okafor." Joshua felt a lump in his throat as he read the letter. Miriam Okafor. The name sounded so familiar, and yet he could hardly believe it. The woman who had helped him was now reaching out to him, acknowledging the full circle of compassion that had connected their lives. He knew immediately that he had to find her. He asked Sarah for any details about her whereabouts, and after some investigation, he discovered that Miriam lived in a modest home on the outskirts of the city. Without hesitation, Joshua set out to find her, determined to meet the woman who had been the silent force behind his success. When he arrived at Miriam's home, he was greeted by a quiet, humble house that reflected the warmth and generosity of its owner. Miriam, now older but still radiant, opened the door with a smile that lit up her face. "Dr. Williams," she said softly, "I was hoping you would come one day." Joshua stepped forward, his heart full of emotion. "Miriam," he said, his voice trembling, "I can never thank you enough for what you did for me all those years ago. You gave me hope when I had none. You gave me the chance to become the man I am today, and now I'm here to thank you." Tears welled up in Miriam's eyes as she invited him inside. The two of them sat down together, and Joshua told her about his life since that day, about the patients he had helped, the nursing home he had built, and the many lives that had been changed because of the kindness she had shown him. "You don't understand," Miriam said quietly, wiping her tears. "It was just a small thing. I didn't know it would lead to all of this. I only helped you because I saw the potential in you, Joshua. I saw a boy who had dreams, and I wanted to make sure you had the chance to chase them. But everything you've accomplished, it's all because of your hard work and your heart." Joshua shook his head. "No, Miriam. You were the first person to believe in me. You didn't just give me money that day. You gave me a chance. And because of that, I've been able to help others in ways I never could have imagined." Miriam smiled, her face soft with the understanding that her small act had created a ripple effect, a wave of kindness that had touched so many lives. "You are doing more than I could ever have hoped for, Joshua. You are living proof that even the smallest gesture can change the course of someone's life." As they sat together, talking and reminiscing, Joshua realized that his journey had come full circle. The kindness that had been shown to him all those years ago had not only shaped his own life, but had allowed him to give back to the world in ways that transcended medicine. He had become a living testament to the power of compassion, a beacon of hope for those who were struggling just as he had once struggled. Joshua rose to leave, but not before he made a promise to Miriam. "I will never forget the lesson you taught me. I will continue to pay it forward to help those in need, just as you helped me." Miriam nodded, her eyes glistening with pride. "I know you will, Joshua. You are already doing it." As Joshua left Miriam's home, his heart felt lighter than it had in years. He knew that his journey wasn't over. The path of kindness was infinite, and he would continue to walk it one step at a time, just as he had when he was that young boy with nothing but a dream and the hope of a future that someone had once helped him reach. Thank you for joining me in this journey of kindness, determination, and the power of small acts that can change the course of a life. This story is a reminder that no matter where we start, with hard work, compassion, and a little help from others, anything is possible. I hope it inspires you to reflect on the impact you can have on those around you, and maybe even inspire you to pass on a bit of kindness yourself. Remember, sometimes the smallest gestures can create the biggest ripple effects. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay kind and keep believing in the power of generosity. If you like this story, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share with your friends and family so you don't miss the next powerful story coming your way. Drop a heart in comment, like and subscribe my channel, and visit my channel for more interesting story videos.